Okay, here we are again, Top Speed Junkie 1, aka Cam. And if you guys have ever watched my videos, you'll notice on the last video I had that pretty good wreck there with the car, and I ended up bending this shock. So I went out and I got some, I had bought these straight steel ones last time. I had asked the guy for a titanium, but he sent me steel instead, unfortunately. And so they bent again, of course. They're just not strong enough. So I'm going to go through a shock rebuild here for you. It'll only take maybe 3 minutes to rebuild them. I've already got one apart here that you can see. And I'll just show you how to take this one apart. And I'll show you some of the trials and stuff you got to watch for, okay, when you're doing this. So, anyways, the first thing you do is, of course, if you got any preload clips on there, just take them off, okay? We'll get those off. Then you compress the shock at this end, the eyelet end, and take off your shock holder on that end. Remove the spring, remove the top shock eyelet there. Okay, now we're left with the shock just like this. Okay, what I like to do next is I like to take off this. Now, some guys will tell you to take a piece of paper towel or a cloth or something and put it in here when you're doing it to take it off. And I do this when I'm taking them off. I take this piece of paper towel and I put it on there, and then I grip that with the pliers, and that's what holds that. But this one's bent. I won't be reusing it, so we just put that on there. I just use an Allen key. Shove her in there and then spin her off. Just like so. Once that's off, we're looking good. Now we're going to do the top cap too. Now I use a regular pair of pliers because they seat around here nice. You can actually use a wrench. And now make sure you don't go up too far, because you see there, that line on that. I don't know if you can see that on this video, but I went up too high with the pliers and I scratched my aluminum cap. So don't do that. Not a good idea. Anyways, so I use this and just pop that off there. Oh, this one's on there pretty good. Alright, there we go. So once this is off, you know, once you open this here, you want to hold her straight up and down, because now we're into the grit here. So this is the little rubber thing on the inside there. Set that aside. That one's all beat up, actually. I just ripped that off. A little piece. Anyways, we'll come back to that. Okay, and then with this, I just dumped the, let's empty the shock oil here. You can just do it. You want to make sure that before you start this, that you got shock oil and stuff, whatever shock oil you want. Now, Draven 3907, as I mentioned before, like the guy that I kind of listen to for speed and stuff, he says use 70 weight shock oil. I don't doubt it. Use it for sure. I live a couple hours away from a hobby shop, so of course I don't have that option. You know, running down there. So I got 47.5 weight. I use that, and I preload my springs so it makes it stiffer in the back. When you're done, just pop that piston through there. Okay, we'll pull that out there like that. Now it just so happened on this one that this little piece came out. See that little dinky washer? Lots of times it doesn't. It's very important that you get that out of there, because it won't set right, and it'll end up beside it, and then the piston won't be seated in there right, and this will sit beside it, and it'll rub up and down the side inside the cup, rather inside the shock body, rather than being on there like that. Okay, so make sure you get that off. There's absolutely no reason to take this bottom part apart unless you're doing a full rebuild on your shock, because there's 3 washes in there, a blue one, a black one, and a blue one, and that's how they sit. The 2 blues sandwich the black in there. You know what, I can just take that apart and I'll show you exactly what it is, just in case you ever have to do it. Okay, So here's exactly what it is. So there is two blues, and I can't get to there. It is. So that's what it looks like in there. It's two blues and a black, and they just sit just in there, and there's a little lip in there that hold them. Okay, so unless your shock's leaking from around the actual piston here, right, shock bar, then there's no need for you to open this. You just leave that closed. That way you don't got to worry about losing them or breaking, whatever could happen. Anytime you open something like that, there's a million things that could happen. A dog could steal one. If you got a young child, she could eat it. Who knows, right? Anything can happen. I speak firsthand with this knowledge, because if it could happen, it has to me. So anyways, there's your shock basically apart. Now, there's what's called E-clips on there. They're these clips. I'll show you a bigger one. And the first thing I always say is, if you're going to do this, go and buy the bag of E-clips, because that's not a bigger one. These things, when you go to put them on and take them off, end up flying everywhere. And it's enough to drive you absolutely crazy, but they do. That's what an E-clip looks like right there. Okay? And it just goes, there's a little notch on the bar. You can see I've left the bottom E-clip on there because it was bent. And there's a little notch, there's two notches on that bar. Okay, and you take the E-clips off, and then this thing sits right in between them, okay? So this little two-hole piston cap, there's two holes in this one, sits right in between the two E-clips. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. This one's put together. And then this little piece, that little black piece I said, goes back on there, okay? So now, once that's together, now I think this is important to say, some of these have three holes. In your, like, monster shocks or big bore shocks or whatever, they'll have three holes. Now, a 47.5 or 42.5 weight, okay, originally in there is 30 weight, okay, in the Rustler's shocks. Okay, so I went to 42.5. That's what the guy told me to go to. I should have gone to 70. That's what Draven told me to go to. Ace told me to go to, and I will. As soon as I get back there, I'm going to buy some 70 weight. But if you use 42.5 in a two-hole system, it's like using, 85 in a three-hole system, or 60 in a three-hole system. You just got to kind of calculate that when there's three holes, there's more places for this fluid to flow through. So, the more holes, the thicker the weight has to be. Right? So if you got a three-hole piston here, then you want to not use a 42. You'd like to use, another third more than that. So a 62.5 or 63, or you get the gist. Anyways, so this is the titanium rod that I've put in. I put the E-clips back on. Now I'm just going to put that. Oh, first off, this is something I like to do. Some guys will tell you I'm nuts. I always just plug that hole in the bottom, and I put just about halfway up the shock with the oil, okay? Now, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but I've done it the other way, and I find that it, I don't know, the oil, I have trouble getting the oil under the piston. It's weird. It's like it almost creates an airlock in there. So, kind of drives me crazy. But anyways, there we go. Now, once you find the hole there, I use, again, you can get